the human functions of the basic realm of the most ancient people, but it's also talking about a futuristic place in the future. Camelot would be a new lot of Egypt, which would be right here in America, with people supplanted in a land in the west far away. So this is the Camelot, but it ain't talking about the Europeans because they didn't come from Kemet. It's talking about black people going through the Middle Passage. That's a whole nother thing. It was only turned into Britain after they got the story and tried to make a literal history for themselves out of ancient mythology, about like that whole Christian thing happened. You see what I'm saying? Where they historicalize sublime mythology, makes grotesque history. So, number one, this is the most trusted knight. Not only is this the most trusted knight that she's able, and in so many words, he looks at her and he falls immediately in love because of her power. But not only does she get the greatest knight that's so advanced that he's on his way to godhood, but she betrays the greatest king. So this particular story is also talking about this energy that is very powerful. Also, it gives us a look into unleashing spiritual powers that doesn't necessarily have to do with moralism. Because moralism is a man-made law for political and cultural reasons, but it might not necessarily apply to another person's way he does things on earth. And ultimately, to become on the higher level, you got to transcend all physical laws of morality, and which is political, basically, of things that basically is put in place for a basic function of a society and has nothing to do with energy and the spiritual nature of the universe, or whatever you want to call it. So in order for one aspect, we have to transcend those, and so therefore, the whole concept of the infidelity was to teach that ultimately, the moralism and what we call good, you understand, is not necessarily the ultimate. We're just talking about a battle of supremacy based on what time it is. And obviously good has become the fucking enemy. That's the stuff that moves the crowds. And therefore, if the crowd get out of hand, they will have this guilt to look at. Yet the man who moves the crowds is bound by no laws of guilt and righteousness. His shit is reign supreme with any means necessary. And don't usurp power. You see what I'm saying? That's the law of what's down here, and you see it in the fucking animal kingdom every day. That's nature. The bigger animal bites off the head of the smaller animal, and the smaller animal bites off the head of the even smaller animal. You see what I'm saying? But we're talking about a battle of supremacy. And at this particular time, obviously, with things gotten out of hand, there's got to be a new mentality of the way we look at shit. And righteousness ain't got shit to do with it when we ain't righteous to each other at all.
Right.
So that even sends a message. Obviously, one is just masturbation. So we're talking about a form of rising and cultivate a certain energy that needs to be done, because we also know that the average of the shit that black people are talking about at this particular time ain't nothing but masturbation. So it has to be something off the chart when it comes to the ultimate power. And this ultimate power is in our DNA and in our spiritual nature, but it's going to have to take another mindset for these powers to be unleashed. And the key right now with all of even the exercises that we do, even in the conscious community, is say we want to get to another level. There's some certain basic innate training and doctrination that we haven't dumped out yet. So this shit has to come to the point where as that no restrictions can be on your damn mind.
Ashe.
You know? And any leftover residue of what was put in there to go along with the basic laws of humanity has to be poured out, because humanity is over and it's failing us every damn day. So obviously, to transmutate, to send a signal to the soul, we got to become not only a new creature in energy, but a new creature in thought. And it has nothing to do with the basic religious concepts of how the hell we get out of this by being obedient to God. A God that the energy has led over to us. So even if you say, well, there's a concept of this particular creation energy, well, they also said that we are the perfecting agents of all that was and all that shall be. So we are the only things down here right now operating this year. And the only thing that is clicking is based on where our minds is telling us on whether we should do this or whether we should do that. It's all based on a state of mind. And whether you got the right blueprint is very key to this particular stuff. It's very key to this particular stuff. That's why we go into also the aspect of Dionysus. Now, I think I talked about this book the last time. Now, first of all, I was wondering this particular point here. Why is it the white boy is so preoccupied with the dinosaur? He had Jurassic Park, Lost World, Barney. They done had a dinosaur movie just came out about 2 months ago. And in so many words, they're not talking about the dinosaur in the aspect of some old big-ass monster. Then they've done that. Or some big-ass carnivorous eater or whatever. Our herbivore out here talking about the ancient black man where the word Dionysus, which is the Greek form of Osiris, and Osar, which is the Egyptian word for Osiris, you get the word dinosaur. And this is a code word to deal with the inner nature of the black man. Now Dionysus, which is the Greek form, which in actuality the Greeks even say that even that word, this is a foreign entity to Greece. And I think it has its roots in Typhonian origin. Dionysus is the god of madness. He's the god of wine, of the vine, which is Jesus is the god of the vine. And he's the god of madness and the god of somber madness who drives people mad. Now, what we're talking about here in this particular new paradigm, what we're dealing with here, is a state of madness. Now, what is madness? Anything that goes against the order of everyday physical reality in this society is considered madness. And we need to get the mind to that aspect of madness, a controllable madness. I'll explain what that is. To get these certain latent powers to work inside of us. This particular controllable madness. And what do we mean by that? We're talking about a state of thinking so opposite to logic, rationale, that it appears to be madness, but that is the divinity. That is what spirit is. That's why the white boy, when he deals with logic and rationale, he said there is no such thing as spirit. Why is it when he becomes more of this physical, logical, rational, left-brain being, there's no room for spirit? But yet that don't stop his ass from going mad. What we're saying is this state of madness is a state that is totally opposite from the ordinary that you would call this shit madness. But we're not talking about some crazy person walking around here. We're just saying even when you talk about the basic concepts of any original thought, to some people, was seen as a form of madness. A light bulb, prior to somebody inventing it, which was a black man, would have been a form of madness. A TV, a telephone, would have been a form of madness, absolute madness, prior to the state of it becoming a reality. You see what I'm saying? So the whole concept of everybody in Western civilization fitting a fucking pattern, a normality, as a fashion, not to stand out, is a form of degeneration and a form of being stagnant. And shunning those particular people who have sexual appetites, who have drunkenness, and all forms of voluptuous ways and all follies, is in fact a form of keeping shit dormant. And this is what the church is involved with, as well as all forms of society at this particular time. You see what I'm saying? So now what we're doing is we're freeing shit up. We're saying the freedom is to go with whatever thought strikes you, no matter how ridiculous the delayed reaction tell you the shit is. Because we're talking about something that's so innate and primal in us. And basically that's what the Christ is. When you want to say the Christ, well, they say the Christ is this supernatural being that is extraordinary. He's not like no other person on the earth. Well, what would that be? That would be a fucking madman. Even if you deal even with the concept of Christ, just in the concept of basically the New Testament, and if you want to historicalize it for the sake of argument right now, he was considered a madman to certain opposing forces, right? So if you take the Christ principle and apply it to self, then we're talking about that this Dionysus comes to play as a god of madness or a god of wickedness. And the most innate forces that you think of in your mind, but you wouldn't dare tell no damn body, based on society. You getting this shit? You getting this particular concept? But what we're doing is we're dealing with greater paradigms of reality. And it can't fit in a box anymore. It has to be something that's so out of the ordinary that when you look, it becomes a form of the divine. Like pain and suffering. Now let's look at this thing, because everybody, we are in a constant pursuit of trying to put some type of anesthesia and numbness on pain. Now let's look at the science on this thing. We know that there's a thin line between eroticism and pain. And there's a point where pain crosses into a comfort. We're probing into the deepest recesses of the mind. If this is an illusion and a shut down particular part, and we'll read the actual part here. I want to show you this part. I want to read this particular part to you. This is also in this book, Dionysus, by Walter F. Otto. A lot of good stuff up in this book if you get your hands on it. It's still in print. Walter F. Otto. Because this Dionysus is the Typhonian form of the Osirian drama. So what it is Osiris is a later day representation of something that's most primal in primordial Africa. And we don't get a lot on the Osirian drama, the same basic story of him, being cut up into 14 pieces, but you don't get a lot. We find the Dionysus cult in Greece because we're talking about something that migrated out of Africa by the Etruscans, the Tyranians, the Troy, and later on the newfound Greeks, which was a black culture at first. And this is a foreign alien worship of a wild God, which in fact is what the Christ is. That's what makes this shit so important. The God of madness. Now, pain is another dimension. If this is an illusionary dimension and something that doesn't exist, then something alien to it outside of this matrix would be painful. It would be painful. And we would need an anesthesia to that alien thing just to cope. You get it? That means it is in the painful aspect of our lives. And most of the pain these days is not necessarily pain, it's the getting out of the comfort zone. Motherfucker talking about taking your goddamn whatever your physical heaven away from you. Just the mere thought of not living comfortable is utter pain. But remember, only till you lose it all that you free. It shows you that in the movie Fight Club. He said, only when you lose it all, that's when you free. You gotta hit rock bottom. And if anybody has ever had the pleasure of hitting rock bottom in their life, life is pretty much easy after that shit. You free. That's why I stick close to the damn shadow realm in the graveyard, in the land of misery and them side of the tracks. You see what I'm saying? So I ain't never too far from that realm. So when the damn reality sets in, which is pain and suffering, and that anesthesia wears off every now and then, I don't lose my mind. It's just another day in paradise to me. Because I ain't moved too far away from the goddamn tracks of pain and suffering. You see what I'm saying? Of pain and suffering. You get the concept here? Suffering is in actuality some dimension away from the everyday reality of illusion. That's the whole thing. When a person comes from heaven to get you to come from heaven, go to hell to get you from hell, you go kicking and screaming. You'd rather cut off your arm of you would rather leave the arm on with gangrene than to cut the shit off. Because people love familiarity. You see what I'm saying? We've become familiar so much with the comfort zone to reality is an illusion. You see? And what we call reality is actually the illusion. You see what I'm saying? So, suffering, Anana, even in the tale of Anana's fall, Anana, if you take the book, Anana, Queen of Heaven, in order for her to get some substance, she has to fall. And she has to take on all forms of royal garments to fall to the aspect that she gains her true power. You see what I'm saying? Why the hell you think that the white Jews, which is the fake isn't really, give you a fake form of suffering? Here's some people that have no intentions on really going through some pain and suffering, other than them 6 years that they made up. But yet, they live in large all over the planet. They are the money changers. Let's not be funny with this mess. But they want to give the image and coin the phrase on pain and suffering just to camouflage themselves and camouflage the true fact of the original people that the scriptures are talking about of the damn pain and suffering, which is us. Here's the people understand the value of the pain and suffering as the true essence of this new reality, that they would rather fake it from. They ain't gonna suffer now. But yeah, they're gonna play it to the damn hill. And they are the doggone pain and suffering people. Yet they are fulfilling a prophecy of the original Hebrews, which was black people, which our lives bear witness that we the original Hebrews of pain and suffering. Because our ass suffer.
Laying into the bone.
And their shit is only something that was made in the 20th century. Just to counter and just to coincide with the scriptures that was us. They had to make this shit up. And the whole Hitler thing was a part of that whole design to make a people of pain and suffering. And the doggone head Jews is the one that financed the shit.
It's all true. It's all true.
But the key here is that they're conquering the pain and suffering of the suffering Messiah, which is us. You see what I'm saying? And even in the aspect of the ancient Hebrew scripture, they talk about the suffering aspect. But in the movie, to give you a part of that, go back and look at Hellraiser. Any of the Hellraiser. When the Cenobites come, when you unlock the puzzle, you gotta saw the movie Hellraiser. And Pinhead and them come. And you know when Pinhead and them coming, some pain and suffering is coming. Yet the Pinhead and them, they keep saying, I got such sight to show you. To them, you know, if you solve a puzzle, you get the prize. You know, in most things, you solve the puzzle, the riddle, your ass is on easy street. But why is it in the movie, when you solve the puzzle of the box, they come and rip your ass apart? But listen to what they're saying. I got such sights to show you. Then that means there's a metaphysical realm of saying that what you call comfort is an illusion. And I'm coming with the real deal shit. And you'll think it is pain and suffering. But in actuality, it is the only pure shit there is. Now take for instance, on Hellraiser 2, Leviathan sticks her tentacle in this man's head. He goes kicking and screaming. But once she hooks up with him, he says, to think I hesitated. So obviously, somebody has us in a perpetual state of fear not to lose this comfort zone, which in actuality is a form of illusion and a form of slavery. You getting this thing? You see. So we have to doggone reprogram ourselves back into some aspects. So in actuality, this answers the question on whether in actuality is there anything wrong with black people? Or do we have the right shit? Seems as we the only motherfuckers that can't shake this pain and suffering. Even when we, at our height of doing good in the late 20th century, things tend to always fuck up and fall apart. Even with the best of us. We become the masters of this shit fucking up. That is spiritual. That's why the Jews are the, is it really the original Jew? Has to counter the market on suffering through mind control, and he ain't suffered. Ain't never suffered. And they used a couple of Jews in World War II as a scapegoat to paint this particular brushstroke on the whole race of people. And they got everybody just shaking their head about how hard those damn people have suffered. You see what I'm saying? So this is some stuff that we're dealing with here. Also, the problem with man is not to understand death. Now, is not understanding death. There's in that text called Anana's Descent.
I say, this is
Yeah. she falls and she goes to the deepest level of terror and death. And as a result, she gains these two entities called galas. And that's her power. And she uses it to take these galas and suck the energy and transform people to do her will. Now,
I can do it.
it is also in the pain and suffering of this particular aspect we're talking about, where you gain a certain amount of energy. When you look at this thing on the today's aspect, and I think that pain and suffering has something to do with just being aware of shit. Because you know, in the text, what's the name of the text? The Gospel of Thomas said, when your eyes are open, you will be disturbed. But when you are disturbed, rejoice, because the kingdom is at hand.
I say.
So in actuality, the only people right now that is gaining a certain aspect of this energy is the ones who don't go through life with the blinders and take the damn suffering, because it's inevitable. You can put the anesthesia in all you want to, but still yet, this is the power that's actually being done. And the white boy knows it right now, that first of all, he had to kill off thousands of black people, or millions of black people who was really suffering, what you call your underclass, and then create a state of a trained Negro. That whole goal is for the comfort zone. Meanwhile, so you can't get the suffering that is needed, because when you suffer, you call for a new reality that is needed to overthrow the system.
That's right.
So therefore, he wasn't going to damn hook all black people up with money, so he just got rid of the so-called underclass element. And the people that he got left are people that basically are zombies for the comfort life, or the good life. Because he ultimately knew that he could not kill off all of us, because that would be his demise. He just said, well, what I'm going to leave on the goddamn planet, going to make sure that all they want is a piece of the pie. And basically, that's virtually what you got with black people now. While all fabric of them being decent is gone out the door now, it's all about what can I get in this particular comfort zone, or this particular comfort zone. So also, so we reiterate, fall in love with death,
I say.
as well as a form of pain and suffering. It is the only thing that is pure at this particular time, that you override the anesthesia. You see, every day you wake up should be a bad day.
I say.
It also says, this, I'm going to read this to you. And we got a lot of stuff to cover, but I'm going to read this one little piece to you. Y'all all right?
Okay.
Okay. Let's read this to you. One minute. Because what I'm getting ready to go to is, we're talking about a form of transmutation, is what we're talking about here. Is a form of a transmutation. There's a poet that said, there was a poet which embraced, a poet with the embrace of Caledron, dared to say, whoever this poet was, man's greatest sin was to be born. Life is a dream. So we're talking about this particular illusionary phenomenon that we're dealing with right now, which is also in the text. The dream of Rudra. Rudra falls asleep. Well, his king falls asleep, supposedly. Dreams that he's a deer. No, dreams that he's a woman. The woman dreams she's a deer. The deer dreams it's a fawn. And dreams it's a... And these dreams keep on going. One dreams it's a tick. One dreams it's a bug. One blood dreams it's a big blade of grass. One dreams it's a bug. One dreams it's a bird. One dreams it's a tree, until you have a whole civilization that's around you. That's dream realm. And then one thing in the society dreams that it's this God Rudra, and God Rudra, which is a form of the Christ, wakes back up. And all this illusionary shit is gone. You see what I'm saying? The primitive man believed, or what you call a Typhonian, prior to a dynastic Egypt. The beliefs of mankind testified by the myths and the cults that death is not to be sought at the end of life, but at the beginning. And that its attendance, that it attends all life and life's creation. That's chaos. So in so many words, going back to this whole concept is the ancient man understood that you don't contemplate death at the end of life, you deal with death at the beginning of life. Now, Alvin Boyd Kuhn in his book, Lost Life, figured it out that the Egyptians, being the most illumined people on earth, said in an actuality that this realm that we are living in is nothing but a graveyard that is left over behind a whole bunch of gods that died before. And basically, in so many words, that's talking about us and our particular higher self. Which goes to the particular part of Dionysus in this particular book, Dionysus, on page 140, where he deals with intoxication. Because it says, let me get that sex book, the sex tantra book there. Yeah, also, because there's a section in there too. Also too. All intoxication arises from the depths of life, which have become fathomless and became death. From these depths comes music, Dionysic music that transforms the world into life and becomes a habit and a certainty that death is a threatening evil. Now, what this thing is also talking about here is, and it talks about it in here, about an intoxication in this book, where intoxication is, or what they call alcohol. It says, when the school, that the ancient people said that alcohol was a gift from the gods to intoxicate you. The only thing about it is this culture, in this particular culture, it's a compulsive society. So a lot of things, a lot of times, it doesn't have the same meaning that it does back in the day. But what it was talking about, this particular intoxication, is when a person becomes drunk, the senses of the rationale that normally keeps him on this plane is diminished. And in so many words, we say a drunk man is a madman. Or we also say that, that he loses all sense of reality. But in actuality, they're teaching you a form of the divine. Because in so many words, why do they call drink spirits? So in so many words, this particular intoxication that we're talking about here is an intoxication as a form of rites of passage, as a form of way of life. Doesn't necessarily mean that you go through life drunk all the time, which I think the black man done figured that shit out. This motherfucker being fucked up. Maybe he is on the right thing. But we're talking about a form of a rites of passage of the way we view this bullshit down here to come to a new reality. Now, dealing with this, the movie X-Men, when it first comes on, it talks about these mutations. Now, we used to call the Europeans mutants. But in so many words, a mutation a lot of times in scientific elements could be something that's a crystallization into something new. So the European is a hybrid. That's a difference. Because to call it a mutant means that it was an original black man that mutated into something white. Mutation, you have albinos, and albinos mostly are albino dominants. The evidence that we got, and more evidence than ever now, we're talking about some type of genetic experiment, as well as the Egyptians say themselves that we created another man in the Hermetic text of the script. Usually, a mutation comes based on the natural order of things, that every now and then you would get a mutation based on a long period of process. And that has something to do with the normal flow of the universe and nature. The European, on the other hand, is not a mutation. He's a hybrid. That means he's a creation or a mock something of something original. Because a mutation a lot of times could very well be not only a new species, but it can be something superior a lot of times. So, based on the evidence that we have based on the European being created, and we got more than that than we have the whole concept of some mutation in the Ice Age, we're talking about a hybrid person. Now, this mutation we're talking about is a transmutation, whereas something is on a certain state for so long until it ferments. It is trapped in a certain dimension, a certain body, or a certain situation, till it literally mutates into a new substance. That's why Dionysus is the god of wine. That's why Christ is the god of wine. So what we're talking about here is a transmutation of something that has to be one of the oldest species or the oldest species in the universe. In this case, we're talking about black people. To speed up this mutation, it needs to be a few people who jump out of the normal life wave of normality. You get where I'm coming from? Since we're talking about latent powers that is innate in us, we're talking about a thought process. That's one of the keys. It's a thought process. We're talking about thinking on another level, although you be functioning in the society and nobody don't suspect you.
Okay.
You know, we don't want you to end up in the crazy house, but we still want you to think of yourself different. And in this case, even if it's talking about superior, but we're not talking about superior in the elite form of matching the status quo out here.
Okay.
You see. Now, the movie The X-Men, they were talking about these mutants that mutated over the course of years. The process is slow, but every now and then you get a mutation. Now, in alchemy, it is done. Alchemy is the study of melanin. In alchemy, they talk about a transmutation through putrefaction. Now, we know that based on alchemy talking about a transmutation, that we know that the melanin inside of us is going to mutate. That's the whole process. But it has to come through putrefaction, and God knows we are putrefied on this fucking earth. To nothing. We even started out talking about how we are brain dead. Now, one of the keys here is this particular putrefaction. Is when you go see the movie, each one of them has several mutated talents. But these talents are separated, and they have to act as a wide body or forces to do what they have to do. And there's two forces that's dealing with well, one force is selling out for the government, want to keep humans in power. Other one saying, fuck this shit. It's fucked up. These people do not like people as different. But this was a story based on black people. Starts off in the concentration camp, but we know that that's fake. You know they're talking about us. And all. But the key to the movie is they're going to have several different types of different powers that go into the different X-Men that's out there, but there's only one problem. when we transmutate every power that we saw, when you see in the movie, we will have all access to all the powers, and that's the key about the original transmutation. As well as it won't be in the physical. We won't be running around in no damn physical, because the transmutation is you always throw off the previous shell or the container that held the energy captive. Now, one of the keys, and this is very interesting because you wouldn't think that this is a book going back to the Grail mythology. It's called Arthur. Now see, this is very key on what they're talking about. They'll just put it in a play of words and do it the wrong way and you don't understand what's going on. This is a book by Caitlin Matthews. She just does a lot of books. It's called Arthur, King Arthur, which is Osiris. And in the word, the Greek word Arthur is Otha, which means dog star. It says Arthur and the sovereignty of Britain. Well, the sovereignty of Britain, well, hell, Britain is the motherfuckers who rule the world. The British Empire, that's who rule America to this day. So obviously, that has to be fake. Arthur and the, remember now, this is more science now. The sovereignty of Britain, the king and the goddess in Mabino Logan is this particular realm. Key here is the ancient respect for the divine feminine that has always been the primal facet in so-called British mythology. Yeah, right. The greatest damn, we talking about the caveman, the white man now. The greatest motherfucking damn xenophobic sexist on the planet. So obviously, we're talking about materials and scriptures that is alien to his damn temperament. You know that he stole the shit. You see. But the key, the very important part of the book is you take this and you take Britain to what the original text that came from Scotland. It was brought from Africa, Egypt, into Scotland, France, and Spain, and Ireland by the Moors, which was talking about a futuristic land at the end of time, and that's in America, where they had this great gathering. That's what you see in the Highlander movie. Am I on the screen, man?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
You're on, Bob.
The Highlander movie. You know that the sovereignty that they're talking about is our black asses right now. But they're talking about the sovereignty based on the great goddess. So even when we talk about a transmutation, or we talk about going the opposite of logic, then the feminine principle would be the opposite of logic, since logic is, in this society, is focused around a patriarchal, masculine system. You see what I'm saying? Even that concept I said, it even gets past the shit of a woman having multiple partners. Just think of this. I mean, a male, I'm so trained against that shit. Just the thought of my girl fucking a whole bunch of men, just... This shit just ain't registered. You know what I'm saying? Number one, I'm talking about a process here now. Just a thought process. But the point here is, we do have harems in the world. That's acceptable. That's accepted. Now, number one, historically, the harem was brought on by a female. The black African female is the one who gave the black male the concept of the harem. She invented it for him. Well, we ain't got enough men. Sister got to get some dick too. Here you go. Makes sense. But the concept was, if we go to primordial history, the harem was something that was revamped and turned into a masculine force or masculine traditions, social traditions that was revamped from an ancient time, primordial time, even before what we call ancient Africa, which would be 3,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago. We're talking about a real primordial time where the harem was that the black woman had multiple partners, which makes more sense. She could take on more dicks in the night than we could take on down the ass. You see what I'm saying? So even the feminine principle we just talk about just in everyday life is when you give into the feminine principle and try to understand more of the feminine principle in its scientific form of so much shit laid out on the great goddess. It is a form of transmutation in a world where everything is masculine and normal if you think like a male, including women thinking like a male. And the standards that you view other women and view your life is based on patriarchal standards. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about transmutation through looking into the abnormal. Stuff that is so remotely alien to this culture that it is abnormal. Case in point, just the prototypical West African looking woman, which used to be the standard bearer for beauty all over the world, is now so alien to European standard of beauty until she's abnormal. Somebody's changed it around so in actuality, she's considered a monster now, based on prototypical West African features, which used to be the prototype of world beauty that the white man copied. And it was the standard of his woman to look close to that. Now she's the monster. And the black man has bought into it that he's running from her ass in record numbers and dissecting her. This is amazing shit. The key here is that they talk about it, she's called a hideous damsel. Why is she hideous? Because she's so old and so remotely arcane until she doesn't even fit the criteria of the day, and she's not the standard of beauty anymore. But the hideous damsel is to be rescued by the night. In actuality, is just the basic concept of the black woman. And it's not necessarily based on her looks, too, because the black man is also complaining about the way she behaves. Because she's not docile, and because she does not fit the mold as this particular unmatronly figure of the white woman. He's complaining about the high yellow one. You see what I'm saying? So here again, we get into realms and different things that we have to reverse based on mentality. And we're not talking about the masses of the people. We're just talking about the ones that try to understand what the hell is going on at this particular time. What the hell is going on at this particular time. Y'all all right? Okay. Let me see what else. Let's see. Let's see. The whole concept of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, this is the Christ story. It has its origins in ancient mythology like Isis and Osiris, and different aspects of the underworld. Dracula just represents that other world of immortality. He comes in, the first thing he does is he recognizes a woman. We talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula, the original archetype of this thing. He recognizes a woman that used to be with him in another age. Is getting ready to get married to this particular guy and take on a whole another identity. That he recognizes the potential of this original noble queen. And for the mere fact he wants the other man's wife is overridden by him because he understands that ultimately she is not this dainty docile, dainty, submissive piece that British society says that this woman's got to be. She's of noble origin, noble blood, on the aspect of the goddess that he had to curse God just to get in his condition. But isn't it funny that he cursed God and was granted immortality? Because the God aspect is the God of the living. I am the God of the living and not the dead. The dead is a whole other realm. It's alien to the living, and that's immortality. The God of the living is just being obedient down here until you find out that your ass is God. You up under the chastisement and on a child level. So he virtually goes after this particular person to illuminate her into the realm of the other realm, or the other world of immortality, on what gods do. The vampire is the ultimate representation of God. Now the whole blood thing and all that's a whole other thing and all, but still yet it's a form of immortality, the way it all comes. And we got into that type of stuff in prior lectures. But one of the keys here is, even in the movie Vampire in Brooklyn, he said that this sister came from England, came from Egypt. And she's of a whole nother origin. And I'm coming to get her. But when he comes there, she's a police officer. And she's so stuck in this world until she don't even recognize her greatness. She just doing the white man thing. And she thinks that's greatness, success. And she don't understand that she's a primordial goddess. And Eddie Murphy came for her. And her being so dead, she sent the damn night is supposed to rescue her away. You see. But the Bram Stoker's Dracula and Isis and Osiris, as well as Solomon and Sheba, because one brother was like, still thinking that Solomon was a real historical character. Solomon, well, you know, there's only one wise man in the world, Solomon. This don't make no sense in the world. We had 80,000 priests alone in Karnak Temple. 80,000 at one fucking time. And Kemet, dynastic Kemet, lasted for 3,000 years and 10,000 years in the whole of the whole thing. You talking about three dynastic Kemet. Solomon represents Osiris, and it also represents the inner man. These are historical, these are mythological terminologies of the soul turned into historical people. Solomon and Sheba is Isis and Osiris. Sheba is the king of the south. She's the queen of the south, which means that she represents the root chakra. Solomon represents the pineal gland. He's the wisest man because the staff of Tahuti, which is the pineal gland, or the black dot, represents wiseness. You see, he comes down with all his gold and all his wisdom to the south gate, or the south chakra, which is the root chakra, to raise her up. This is an alchemical marriage. The alchemical wedding of the male and the female energy that was turned into a historical person. Queen of Ethiopia means blackness. Ethiopia in the south. The root chakra. When the god of the south rises up, it's all over. This is ancient mythology. This is ancient mythology. I want to get a thing right now that I need to deal with right now, and that's this. They're getting ready to savage the black woman next week or something, once and for all. Now, what this is going to do, when they do this, it's going to be the ultimate slap on black people. And as a result of this war that we're into, and I've already made it in another lecture, we're just going to set up a backlash on the cracker's ass. The white boy has figured out that The only thing that he had to savage in this country based on his media and his image around the world, it was the black children, the black man, the black woman, pimps, prostitutes, jail, thug, rats, gangsters, all kind of stuff. The only person he didn't savage was the black woman past late 60s, 70s, and 80s. She represents the epitome that all that is good and moral for the model of humanity this year. That surpasses the white woman. Old black woman sitting on the goddamn front porch, 80 years old, that is the damn prototype of all that is good. You know what I'm saying? You just don't get no better than that. So as a result, he said we have to go after this figure, and after we go after this figure, it would be the total annihilation into savagery of the black race on the world scale that even the Africans say
Bring it on.
that we ain't shit. And he's going to do it with the movie The Nutty Professor, The Crumps, which is showing the pathology of the complete black family, number one. But he's going to go after, pay close attention to the old black woman. It's in the 80s, in her 80s. Now this woman, they've shown something that is one of the greatest things that ever happened in media history. They have never shown a woman drop her drawers in prime time TV, commercial. But yet, now you know the science on black movies. A black movie will come out, they'll show you 1 week of damn trailers, a week before and a week after it's released, and that's it. They started running the trailers on TV back in March for a movie that it's not even coming out until next week. I think the 24th or something. 28th? Yeah, so. Yeah, because 24th is March. Yeah, Friday. Now what are the odds of that? They don't do that for black movies. But the scene that they keep showing over and over again is this black woman saying, I feel so vulnerable. She comes to Eddie Murphy, she's a younger person, you know, ain't no old black woman fucking around no young black man. That's the white woman. And she drops her dress and she drops her drawers. Now they've been showing this shit at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock. They show it around the clock. They've been showing it since March. In the trailer, in the movie, they show her take out her teeth, jump in the jacuzzi down to Eddie Murphy's dick. And when she see him jump like this, means she's giving him head. This is the total castration of the black woman in her 80s.
Well, Martin did that in that Mama's
Yeah,
house.
Martin did it with Big Mama's house. But you still can say, well, he's going undercover. But still yet, is he? Because the posters that they showed all over town with Martin is him digging in his ass.
Yeah.
What are the odds of that? We talk about high-tech lynching and the total disrespect of black people that in actuality is going to create the line to cross. And they're going to cross that line. Now, they're just showing some of that, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The way that, what they're literally doing is they're showing all ages and they're showing the pathology of the black family on all ages. So you're going to see all types of shit in this movie. Look here. They don't push a movie back damn near a whole year. They come to the height of the summer solstice to get this shit out. So the whole movie is going to show the total annihilation of the black family unit. And they're going to do this particular thing, do this particular thing coming up soon with this movie. So very key that you understand that at this particular time. Let's go on. Let me know when you want to do the break, man.
Keep going.
Huh?
When she comes back.
Huh?
When she comes back.
Okay. Now, what we want to get into right now is particular book called Kundalini for a New Age. I had it a couple of years back, gave it away, and needed it again. And a brother and some brother actually made it possible to get it again. But I want to show you this particular part here. On chapter 12 in this book, on page 267, Kundalini for a New Age, selected writings from Gopi Krishna. So if you can't find this book is out in print, get any stuff by Gopi Krishna. He's a guy from India that does a lot of scholarship on the Kundalini energy in us. And I want to make this plain and simple because it says, scientific investigation. There are devices that will come into operation at the time of a seemingly annihilated nuclear war to save the race from extinction. Now, he makes this that